A few days ago, while I was talking to someone, I heard a phrase that I just knew somehow I could work into a video, but wasn't sure how. I pondered it, and as I pondered it even deeper, sparks started going off in my brain even faster than a Merlin engine at full throttle. They were just everywhere. There are just so many different things that I could use, and so it took a few days to ponder these and work out how to put them into some sort of logical order that I could use for a video. There's so much material that I have for a few more other videos as well, but for this particular one I'm going to put them into some sort of chronological order just to make it easier for you to understand the thought process. And the first image from these sparks goes back to sometime in the late 50s whilst writing essays at school. For me, an essay was a continuous thought process, and as such saw absolutely no need for full stops. I had a great technique for stringing what otherwise would be sentences together, putting the full stop at the end. My teachers didn't like that and would constantly be correcting my works. It was only years later that I hear of Jack Kerouac, who had written a complete novel with no full stops. But even without my teacher's interference, I don't think I'd have achieved his greatness. But it led to me concentrating on constructing the perfect sentence each time. So what I wrote became a series of sentences, but the concentration on the punctuation just made me lose the complete thought process. We then fast forward perhaps 7 or 8 years, and I came across some essays written by one of my brothers. He was and still is 2 years younger than me, but I read his essays and it was like, wow! I don't remember exactly what he wrote, but it was the way he wrote it that amazed me. I'd always had my favourite authors, just like Robert Louis Stevenson, the Dickens novels, the works by the Bronte sisters. But of course to me they were professional authors, something I could never achieve. I never even really analysed their structure. I just read the novels and that was it. But this wow feeling stayed in my mind. Didn't know how I was using it, going to use it. Until at school we, once again in English class, were given an essay subject. This thought was still in my mind. I used it. To this day I don't know why the teacher didn't pull me aside and accuse me of plagiarism, because he obviously liked it. My grades improved enormously. Every time, top marks for essays. Now this, of course, goes on through school, but that's the way it goes. The other style of writing that I like was one my father used when he wrote about walks in the area of where he lived. This was the very clear, concise, third-person style that you find in technical manuals. If you ever take the time to actually read the manual before using a piece of equipment, you'll know just what I'm talking about. because of essays being still forced on me at school, I never really saw it as something that I enjoyed doing rather than something that had to be done. Although years after leaving school, I've made various attempts at writing things down, but my typing speed is so slow, it's never amounted to more than short stories. But who knows, one of these days, they say everyone has the dream of writing the great novel, so perhaps one of these days I will. Of course, when you're at school, various works of literature are mentioned, but some you just never get round to reading, although more recently I have taken the time and trouble to read Anna Karenina to get the storyline for that. Probably the Reader's Digest version is the best. But it is beautiful how he goes off on all these little tangents with all these beautiful descriptions of scenes, people, places. And basically a book I can highly recommend people reading. It was Mark Twain who said that he never let schooling get in the way of his education. I guess that all depends really on what type of teachers you had. But I think sometimes when it comes to English literature, definitely my schooling did get in the way of my education when it came to writing. That, of course, is one of the things I like about videos. I can collect my thoughts, put them together in some sort of logical fashion, and then talk, and not worry about typing speed or anything like that. But of course we all have our own preferred medium. But those who are following my series of videos will know that, at least at the moment, talking is my preferred medium. And as these thoughts go on, of course I'll be increasing in that. Many different directions I could go. It of course all started with the subject of accents, but even that was just an excuse to have something to talk about. Someone said to me one time, you could read the phone book and people would still listen to you. Well, I suppose I could, but seeing as anyone can just pick up the phone book, doesn't seem something that people want to spend their time on. Perhaps, I've joked with people I should do the voices for the various GPS systems, but you've got to have contacts for that, so I don't think that will happen. So we'll just continue with YouTube, maybe further thoughts on writing and essays. But with that one, I'm going to wrap this one up and post it and await comments.